Facebook and YouTube as I do now. But yeah, I hope they both record. Probably, hopefully, by law of averages, at least one of them will record properly. But I'm focusing on the Facebook screen. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, watching live, I hope I get a few viewers. Be nice, but please forgive me if I don't react to comments straight away, because it's easier to focus on one screen rather than going from one to the other. But anyhow, I hope at least one, or preferably both of these, record as well as possible. I'll just put my cap on as well, although it's night time. But yeah, I wanted to record, and initially my plans were to cover Blacks to Support South Africa yesterday and do P.O.C. more generally today. Now, because Black History Month here in Britain, and quite a few African nations have their own Independence Days this month, at least 2 or 3, at least a couple of them. I thought I mainly want to focus on the Black community and empowering the Black community and encourage them to unite and support each other, and like supporters like myself, or wannabe supporters, in my case, who tries to do my best with my own limited ability to support them. So supporters, allies, or whatever you want to call us. But yeah, I thought I'd also include P.O.C. more generally. It might be a blessing in disguise, although I could have probably covered Central Africa or something else yesterday, but I didn't get around to making any videos yesterday. All this week, actually, I've been struggling to get around to recording videos for some reason. Sleeping too late or whatever. I don't know if it's like because it's really dark now and winter and all that. My mood has got a bit more depressive or whatever, but if I'm honest, but trying to be as positive as possible. I was thinking, I hope I can focus on this. Normally I like to do part 1 before I go for a walk, because of my patterns, like use of patterns like 11, I think, like walking, as I've often said. But yeah, so I did that now, but I was thinking I could go for a walk and change it, like switch it, so that I can think of ideas, but I'm just hoping that I don't forget anything. But anyway, as I say, I was going to cover like Blacks to Support South Africa, and then today do P.O.C. for South Africa. But then I'll probably repeat a lot of the points. So again, it might be a blessing in disguise, but it is what it is anyway. Tomorrow I'm hoping to cover more videos on Milan, AC Milan for short. Yeah, I think there's some good reasons to support South Africa for Black and P.O.C. generally, for people of colour generally, because of apartheid, colonialism and that kind of thing, and saying that I suppose a lot of white supremacists will say like P.O.C., especially Black people, can't achieve things. And I think it'd be good to show what we can do and how we can unite as P.O.C. I don't class myself as Black, but as a P.O.C. And a wannabe supporter of the Black community. I'd love to support South Africa, and I saw something recently which said South Africa's going through some financial problems. Another thing I was thinking of is like, on that note, like a friend in need is a friend indeed, supposedly. Not sure if I'd agree with that or not, but it's an interesting saying. But as ever, I'd love to know what you think as well, whether you agree with me or disagree with me on any points, especially P.O.C. and members of the Black community, especially around the world, in Britain, America, and elsewhere. I hope to talk about some of the events I hope South Africa will be able to run in the future, and how they'll be able to revive their economy. I suppose this video is partly inspired by recent reports I've seen of of South Africa struggling financially, and also, as the saying goes, friend indeed, and also about like white supremacists saying about South Africa, saying things about South Africa. I mean, people are entitled to their views, but I'd love to see what we could do. And since apartheid is against P.O.C. generally, including people like me and mixed race people and that kind of thing, I'd love for Black people, mixed race people generally, like Black, Asian, mixed race, Native Americans, Latinos and Hispanics, and maybe even many Jewish people, possibly non-Zionist Jewish people, if and when they can, to support South Africa financially and whatnot, including through tourism and that kind of thing, which we have to come to. But anyway, I'm behind schedule, so I'm going to crack on. As per usual, these are pointers number 1 to 10. Please feel free to agree, disagree, or whatever you want to post in the comments or whatever. These are just my own personal views. Yeah, here goes. So number 1, I'm going to start off with quite a selfish one as usual, but I know I pretty much always say this one, but I think I could do it a little bit differently, but I won't repeat myself too much. But I would love for Italian football teams to work with South African, fundraise for South Africa, and like improve relations with the Black community and Italians improving relations with the rest of the world through footy and that kind of thing, soccer, or whatever you call it, and to go and travel to South Africa and invite South Africans to come to play in Italy. So Serie A teams, including Inter and their rivals AC Milan, I'm a bit mad at both teams because I support the Italian teams generally. Normally they hate each other, but I love all the Italian teams, so I'd say I'm a bit mad. But yeah, so I hope it'll benefit Italian football as well, but I hope it'll also benefit South Africa and we'll be able to fundraise for them. So my dream for that would be to help Italian teams to become number one again, and at the same time to help South Africa to grow their economy, all being well. I was thinking I probably should think of one point at a time, especially for point number one. I would also think for point number one, like getting the worst out of the way, the worst stories of South Africa and all that kind of thing and their history. But I thought I'd cover a few. I thought the same, one all for one and one for all. So I thought I might think of 4 points in one. But yeah, so I thought I'd start with that. But also, I love to support South African startups. Startups, for some reason, I put startups in speech marks. And help South Africans to unite together and the black community around the world, and even P.O.C. to unite together through South Africa. There was, come to think of it, there's something in Britain where they were going to send deportees from deported migrants to Rwanda, a Rwanda deal, as they call it, where they're going to ship them to Rwanda. I think it was defeated in court, but they actually paid Rwanda a certain amount of money. I think it was 25 million a year, I could be wrong, to take in migrants and that kind of thing. But I wonder if South Africa, I mean, I suppose there's only so much space and time, but I wonder if people get deported from Western nations to South Africa, like P.O.C, if we could be there and unite and help to build, as I said, if they did deport people like people at P.O.C from Western nations in America. Apparently, Ibrahim Traore, I can't remember which African nation he comes from, Sierra Leone or something. I don't think it's Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast or somewhere like that. Anyway, I know it's an African country, but I can't remember which one. But he refused money and that kind of thing and said no to America. But very brave of him. But on a serious note, like how dare he, they might say. But on a serious note, like I thought South Africa, as it went through apartheid, but could take in P.O.C from around the world, and we could help to build it with our ideas and not that I can do much, but other people at P.O.C. But maybe I'd love to go and visit. I'd certainly love to go and visit South Africa, but maybe one day I could live in South Africa, but not the most independent. Maybe I could learn to be more independent. I don't know. And I've been lacking energy. I realise I've wore this top for quite a while enough. Not even changed my bedding and stuff like that. So going off point. Terrible, but yeah. Yeah, if we could come together as P.O.C and unite, so South Africa to unite itself and the rest of Africa and P.O.C, especially black people around the world, to unite and support South African startups. I said the TAM 40 thing, and I'm sure maybe I could think of another thing. But yeah, I think we could unite P.O.C together. I hope they'll host many events. Just trying to think if there's something else. So yeah, talking about TAM football from a selfish point of view, looking after number one, that's my ingredient. Point number one, uniting together. I think of like coming together as one. And yeah, I'm going to move on anyway to point number two because as usual I'm behind schedule. So point number two, I'd love to support South African SMEs and that kind of thing, and tourism, like as well, social media, content creators, influencers and whatnot. And I would love for P.O.C, black people in P.O.C generally, black, Asian, mixed race, and even if they can, like Native Americans, Latinos and Hispanics, and maybe even some Jewish people, like non-Zionist Jewish people, maybe, I suppose, mainly, to go and visit South Africa and for them to host events like that, which I hope to come to, anti-apartheid events, anti-racism events, and all sorts of things like that. And also looking at what South Africa can learn from the rest of the world and what they can learn from like China and India, what sort of strategies they can implement to improve their economy, looking at what has and hasn't worked for other nations, so avoiding some of the mistakes and doing some good things they do. And also, so showing what we can learn from about South Africa and from South Africa and about South African products and things like that. And people going to teach and train. They could be like hashtag teach for South Africa, hashtag train for South Africa and that kind of thing. Number three, one of the reasons to support South Africa, I was thinking about like reasons as well, apartheid, racism, prejudice and all that kind of thing. People are against those sorts of things to support South Africa. And they have like Freedom Day, I think that's the 27th of March. hopefully next year maybe I'll cover that, like Freedom Day and supporting South Africa on that day. I'll try and check it out on Google, remind myself or whatever. But yeah, having the fact that they lost liberty and that kind of thing, I think is a good. Just trying to make sure that I hope that both my Facebook and YouTube are recording as well as possible. So, but yeah, as I say, by the law of averages, hopefully these one will record. But yeah, the loss of liberty they had, I would love to compensate for that. I'd love to promote libertarianism in South Africa as well. But yeah, maybe libertarians could go and visit South Africa and that kind of thing. Although libertarianism is normally a more right-leaning philosophy, but the freedom they lost when they were colonized, not all libertarians would agree to support South Africa, I'm sure, but unfortunately, it would be good if at least some did. Caps may be really itchy. I don't know if I should wear caps, but probably not the best. Like, apparently they mess up your. Not that much hair left. You can probably tell. Let me see another video. Probably know, but anyway, sorry, going off topic. I know, but I can't resist some Coke in a glass bottle. Yeah. On that note, like investors going to South Africa as well, I think that would be pretty cool. I think that covers everything for point number 3. I'm just thinking, I hope I don't forget things. So that's why I sometimes wonder, like, before I move on to the next point, I think, I hope I haven't forgotten anything. But if I have, hopefully I'll cover it in point number 21, as saying goes 21 again, or whatever. So here, moving on to the next point. Here goes, but moving on to the next point, number 4. I'd love to see South Africa have as much peace as possible and unite and work together and show what Black and other POC can achieve and sort of stick to things that are racist. So as I put it, I'm wary to use that word racism. You probably heard me say that before, so I repeat myself, but because most people, I guess, pretty much everyone probably has their own prejudice, including myself probably. Certainly in the past I have, but I try and treat everyone as equally as possible and treat everyone as nicely as they treat me. If they're good to me, I try and be good to them no matter what background they are. But yeah, due to apartheid, I think it would be good for POC support. After all, apartheid sort of said that POC are, especially Black people, I suppose, I wonder if it is because they were in South Africa or because the fact that, I suppose, Black people are almost the opposite skin, well, I suppose the opposite skin colour in many ways to white people. I wonder if that's why they made apartheid. I wonder why they call it apartheid in South Africa, because I'm sure the same sort of thing happened in other nations, but when I think of apartheid, I normally think of South Africa and vice versa. But yeah, as I hope to come to in more detail, a lot of money was pulled out during apartheid to challenge apartheid, but now I think more money should be put in. But again, I hope to come to that a bit later, possibly in part 3 and triple 4, maybe part 2 as well. Yeah, I hope they'll show what they can build and cut back on crime and show how they can build things together and achieve great things. And yeah, I'd stick 2 things up to the racist, anti-Black racists or whatever, and even those who think that they're better than POC. Like, I suppose Black people, I think, should support South Africa because apartheid sort of said Black people can't do things, but it also said about non-white people like Asians, mixed race people like myself. In fact, the idea of being apart, so like they condemned anyone who would marry, date, procreate, or whatever with people of different races, certainly with like Black or white or whatever. So yeah, I think much like myself should support South Africa in my opinion. I definitely think that, but I think Black and Asian people should as well. Obviously, Black people, even Asians, and I think mixed race people, Black and mixed race people mainly, but even Asians as well. So I hope they'll host many events for such. Again, I hope to come to that in more detail. I hope I don't forget too much, but I hope they can show that they can build peace and grow things together and build things together and achieve a lot of great things to prove racists wrong, basically. Again, to do things to racist, so to speak. I'll drink that, as I say. Number 5, I'd love to know from South Africans what their goals are for their economy, and maybe to say thank you to me in the future if and when my ideas benefit them, or even for the effort, maybe for the intention. I think intention is really important. Maybe they could support my 5 causes, which I haven't talked about, but that's looking way into the future. But I'd love to know about South African ambition and how to help them with their ambition and to promote Black ambition and even P.O.C. ambition, people of colour's ambition in South Africa. Again, maybe we could host maybe South Africa could host lots of events to bring P.O.C., non-white people, or whatever you want to call it, or even anti-racist, including white people, to those who are against apartness, i.e. apartheid, those who are against separation, and those who are against division, hate, and things like that. Something about dyslexia, which I want to talk about a bit later as well, the education system or whatever, but jumping out of myself. But yeah, I love to support South Africans with their ambition, and black people with their ambition, black ambition in South Africa, and even like P.O.C. Having ambition and like more representation, things like that, and those who are against hate, again, which I've come to. Number 6, again, with Town football, I'd love to see Town teams, Serie A teams, going to South Africa and playing and training together. And I know that I've seen something on YouTube where there's like the Tricolor games or whatever, something like that, and in Italy, and Calabria or somewhere like that, which is one region in Italy which apparently took on apartheid. I know Italians can be quite racist and support colonialism themselves, but not. I'm sure many Italians are against empire as well. I'm sure, but as well as like people in Britain, probably even Holland and across the world, maybe, and of course many people do support it as well. But yeah, I'd love to strengthen those links. So Serie A teams to go and play in places like South Africa, and maybe to talk about like if Italians become less racist, then like, people can support Italian teams, and like both in terms of as fans and as financial backers, supporters, and whatever. Italy having deals, I've been thinking like deals with African nations in terms of migration and that kind of thing. Although I'm probably being very naive and idealistic, but I am an idealist. To be honest with you, I'm not a realist really that much. I'm more of an idealist. But also, as I say, I hope they can show what they can build and how they can work together, as I say, and again, show to races like we can build a great nation, we can build a nation we're proud of, and that kind of thing. Moving on again, number 7, I'd love the Celtic to have a partnership with South Africa. I know there's Celtic, Bloemfontein. I think they probably have a link with Celtic, or they're inspired by Celtic. But I'd love for Celtic to have academies, supporters clubs, and whatnot in South Africa. And I'm sure most Celtic fans are against apartheid. Probably not all. I mean, we do have some racist fans, unfortunately, which I think should be condemned by the club and other supporters. But perhaps rather ironically, I mean, Celtic normally is against imperialism. Even though it's a white team, so to speak, historically, kind of, or it's founded by white people, but it's a club for everyone, supposedly, or that's how it's supposed to be, anyway. But yeah, given how the Irish Catholics were treated in Glasgow and like how Ireland was colonised and that kind of thing, hopefully even Irish people, a lot of Irish people, will support South Africa, ideally, but obviously that would be their choice, but that would be pretty cool. Anyone who is against racism or whatever, I hope will support South Africa, again due to apartheid and that kind of how we pronounce it. I love to hear about an entrepreneur. I love to listen to an entrepreneur called Vusi Thembekwayo, if I pronounce his name right, to see examples of black success stories to show again to racist what, so to speak, or whatever, what anti-black haters what they can achieve. And again, this video is partly inspired by people saying, like South Africa, they're saying South Africa's going to collapse, and they're saying all these bad things about South Africa, and I suppose about black people and about Africans and things like that. I've just remembered something I was going to say in point number 4, which I completely forgot, which is a bit annoying. That would be something. But anyway, but yeah, I'd love to see Celtic have academies and sports clubs and work with South Africa and challenge prejudice and all that kind of thing, and support projects that hopefully benefit South Africa and towards a mutual benefit, just like I hope that'll benefit Townful and South Africa. I hope also Celtic and South Africa will benefit. I suppose it's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I also hope, like, as a biblical saying goes, again, I often say I'm not that religious, but I do believe in God, excuse me. And I know the biblical quote, which is many hands make light work, which reminds me of something I was going to say, which is I hope God will prove his or her goodness. I hope God will show that he or she is good by blessing South Africa, especially for what they went through in history. I hope he'll give them positive miracles, especially, dare I say, weather-wise, or also especially their economy. Although I know the Bible, I suppose, doesn't say says blessed be the poor and that kind of thing. But yeah, I hope God will prove His or her goodness by blessing South Africa financially and economically, or however, whatever ways are best to bless them. I suppose people would say God knows no better. Although for me, blessing for bloke would be very different. Anyway, moving on. Number 8, again, I love for P.O.C. and also anti-racists, anti-imperialists, anti-haters and whatnot, people who are against hate and against division, people who believe in disability rights, P.O.C. rights, black rights, dyslexia rights. Jumping ahead of myself, I was going to wait till a bit later to say this, but when I look at the academic system, I think it does remind me a little bit of apartheid. Like you have a grading system, if you have a different sort of way of thinking, like dyslexia or ADHD or whatever. I know for October, I'm mainly focusing on dyslexia, but it's kind of like an apartheid system. If you have a different, it's not quite the same, obviously, but and many teachers probably don't know that we have these problems and challenges. Whereas with colour, like you can see someone looks different, and so it's more of a deliberate thing. But in terms of like the school system, saying like if you can't read or write as well, or you can't do maths, or you can't do certain things, math, as the Americans would say, then it sort of puts you down and that kind of thing. So I suppose it is a bit like apartheid, in my opinion. You can disagree if you like, as I say, but in my opinion, it is kind of like apartheid. I know it's not quite the same thing, apartheid, or however they pronounce it. I think they call it apartheid in South Africa. But yeah, I'd love for South Africa to host events like anti-racism events, anti-hate events, pro-diversity events, pro-peace and love events, and all sorts of things like that. And what I was going to say in point number 4, but I forgot. I've been thinking like 4 and 8 being they remind me of each other for some reason. Yes, I guess it is. Sorry, just answering to that point. Like Larry Bolton said, life is a funny journey because no matter how you look at things, you're always going to have racism. That's how human nature, which is true, I suppose. Seeing people who are different and judging them in a negative way. Again, I hope God will show that He is loving and good by He or she is loving and good by supporting and blessing South Africa. And many people say, "Oh, wow, some great miracles happening for South Africa." Hopefully. Especially for the black and P.O.C, but even for the white people who want to integrate, that not those who want to divide themselves, like people who make an all-white state like Orania or Afrikaners or people like that who want to be divided from others. Not sure about the Boers, but yeah, yeah, it'd be cool for South Africa, as I say, to host those events: anti-racism, anti-prejudice, anti-hate, disability rights events, maybe even dyslexia events or whatever else I have to come to. I wasn't going to include that till later, but I thought I'd include that. And this video is about 3 times longer than planned. I'm sure there's something else I was going to say. Yeah, oh yeah. Instead of supporting Western military, that's what I was saying point before. Instead of supporting Western militaries, I think P.O.C should instead support South Africa. I think those people like black, Asian, mixed race, Native American, Latinos, Hispanics, or even some Jewish people who are in the military, like American or British or other European militaries. For one thing, I think we should avoid the wars because of all the it's going to be a really dangerous situation, I'm sure, with Russia and all that kind of thing. So I think staying out of militarism, as some people say, whoever takes up arms will be taken up against them. But instead of doing all that and supporting Western militaries, I would love for us to be able to spend that attention, freedom, effort, attention, time, and money, as I call it, a fee at the ATM, freedom, effort, energy, attention, time, and money, especially attention and time and money, onto supporting South Africa. So those who are in the military, I think, should leave those P.O.C in the military, in Western militaries. Those who are thinking of joining, I think, shouldn't, in my opinion. And I wish people didn't join the military, those who are P.O.C especially. But yeah, I think we should support South Africa and peace projects instead, in my opinion. Again, you can agree with this, it's fine. These are just my own personal opinions, but some people will agree with me and some will not. I hope as many people agree with me as possible, especially P.O.C, but it is freedom of speech and freedom of expression, as they say. I love for South Africa to have libertarianism. I've talked about that before. Number 9, I love to support projects that benefit South Africa generally, whether that's supporting their poets, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, helping them to sell products around the world, again, hosting events, summits, conferences. One thing for some reason so much there. Summits, conferences, events. or whatever sort of things, events, put it simply. Summits, conferences, events, and things like that. Could be dyslexia-friendly ones, neurodiversity ones, for those who have been discriminated against, anti-discrimination events, anti-apartheid events, anti-apartheid, or whatever that's it, apartheid or apartheid or whatever, anti-hate events, anti-division events, and all sorts of different things, projects that I will benefit South Africa, like the inaugural investment conference, which I hope to come to. And number 10, I hope to support and empower young people. I was going to say with dyslexia, but in this case, from South Africa, young people of all different colours. And I hope, as I say, P.O.C will visit South Africa, support the tourism industry, and all sorts of things like that. And I'd love to know what you think. As ever, I hope you're on the Josh, and I'm out. Peace and love. Can we prove the racists wrong and show what we can build together?